Hey guys, my name is Loveless, and this time we're here with a high pitched cry for help. So we're all the way at chapter 6, so let's get straight into it. Izuku didn't leave his house for 5 days straight. He wasn't exactly sure why he was so scared of the pro hero talking to him. He just wasn't ready for him to treat him like everyone else did. The quirkless might be kind to him because they understood, but he didn't know if the pro hero would still want his drawings if he knew. If he really knew. If he had to be honest with himself, Izuku had to admit to not being able to recognize his own feelings. Most of the time, he did just fine ignoring them or not labeling them. But now there was a sudden feeling he could once remember, the feeling of loss. It was silly, he rationed. He knew that very clearly. He couldn't really miss something you didn't have. But getting to take a smile out of the hero from his drawings was something he really cherished. It created a bubbly feeling in his chest that made him smile. Izuku wanted to make everyone smile, and that made him remember he wanted to be a hero. Right, he wanted to be a hero. And heroes were really brave. Heroes didn't hide when their cover got blown. Izuku had to be brave. He had to give his drawings to him. And maybe, if he was brave enough, he can go to school too. He really hated school now. Kachan's power was getting more and more powerful by the minute, and Izuku's body could feel the strain it took when he saw his classmates' eyes. Most of them instigated that Bakugo showed them his power. Some even brave enough to join the beatdown. By now, there were no other kids that had it so bad against them, and although it wasn't easy, Izuku didn't want the other kids to become targets just because he was missing school. He could take it for Bakugo's learning and safety of the other kids. He could turn his curse on someone's blessing. At least, like the quirkless, useless Deku would have some worth. If he could make a hero smile, that would give him some worth too, right? That day, Izuku decided to do the bravest thing he could think of. He ripped a page from his hero analysis notebook and kept it on his fingers. One of his favorite pages for sure. He wanted to show two things. He wanted the hero to know that he admired him, to the point he thought the things he could improve, and secondly, he wanted to show the hero what really defined Izuku. And if he thought it was creepy, as often people did, and ran away, well, he would be heartbroken, but at least he would be able to anticipate the blow before it got too strong. He didn't want to trust. Before he could gather the courage to get out of his very dark and incredibly dirty house, he heard a noise. Steps that usually are quite hard to catch were unbelievably loud. He got nervous. There was a reason why a pro hero was assigned to this part of the city as their patrol, that being how dangerous it was at night. Would a thief be so loud? The sound stopped. Izuku opened the front door really without thinking, curiosity getting the best of him. And the lock had been broken for a few weeks now, so it wasn't safe anyways. The light of the common area of the apartment complex hit him like a hammer. He had really been in complete darkness the last few days. After a few seconds of adapting to it, some tired and alert black eyes watched him with caution, hands raising in the air as proving innocence. Immediately panicking at the sight of the last person he ever wanted to see face to face, he froze. His heart skyrocketed, his breathing irregular. His poor green eyes mixed with fear and shock. His throat felt dry, so dry, and he felt the air vibrate, as it happens when he got really stressed. Why was he here? Why did he know where he lived? The man in front of him moved slowly, as if treating an injured animal. He opened his mouth and formulated a sentence, but there was nothing to listen to. No sound came out. Both seemed confused by this. And before anything else could happen, Izuku had made the sign for leave and closed the door in his face. The green little kid hid himself behind the door with his hands trembling. He began pulling his green, messy hair with both hands. Undoing knots always helped him calm down. It was also the first time he noticed how long his unhinged hair was. No wonder he attracted ugly stares at school. Wait, if his hands were empty, where's the hero analysis page at? Looking around in almost complete darkness, he knew that he dropped it in front of the dark haired man. Not the best way to deliver the truth, to be told. Avoiding seeing his reaction would spare him a little if the man didn't ever come back. Why was he here anyway? Izuku slept the whole night in front of the door, guarding it, making sure the man would under no circumstances come in. Terribly afraid he was waiting outside for him. Terribly afraid of that being the last time he seen him. Aizawa waited. He really did, guilt and rage building deep within. He shouldn't have stalked the kid. He knew that beforehand. But he was just so worried when he missed the drawings and after he never picked up the jelly. He was so worried that something had happened and it was not him avoiding him. He was right to be worried, too. It was the first time he could see the kid in detail with good lighting, and his whole body reacted to it. He was just trying to see if he was home, nothing more. But suddenly his walk was undisguisable, and he ended up face to face with the kid, if only for 5 seconds. The pro hero couldn't believe he hadn't noticed it before. Yet the kid looked awful. At first, the sight when he opened the door, his reaction was unaware of the light, not one tiny glow coming from inside. So that's not what shocked him. What really caught his attention was the hurt animal appearance he held. His hair. He was sure it was black. Actually, it was a deep green, greasy, matted, and wild. His clothes were the same ones he wore a week ago. Obviously old and dirty. His hands were red and scrawny. The whole kid was a mess. His eyes had huge eye bags for someone his age, and his eyes were just lacking in every kind of way. All of this screams neglect in the best scenario. He didn't want to think of the implications of a child opening the door just to about anyone. His husband would obviously lose his mind when he tells him that the kid had used sign language. A kid so young, too. It was definitely something quirk related. The kid must have a silence quirk to some degree, because he knew for sure that the second he tried talking to the kid completely killed his voice. Without a doubt, an impressed control of it, considering the shock he was in. Or maybe he didn't do it on purpose at all. The look that he had, he would have to look into it. One way or another, he knew he was reluctant to leave the matter alone. He was sure as hell not going to leave now. The kid needed help. He just didn't know how to ask for it. Only God knows how long he's been in this state. Probably a long time if he couldn't bring himself to trust a hero. He had to save this kid in any way that he would allow him. But first, he needed to cool down. Watching for the kid to come out was not the best idea, and he had to make a plan of action. From watching the house to see if he could locate his parents and asking to see the public records of the property. That would probably give him at least a family name to go about. His heart ached at the idea of a horrible thing he would uncover. The page in his hands filled him with a sense of duty. The kid holded him on a pedestal he had not yet earned. Eraserhead had a few calls to make and a kid to save. Yay, I did it! Woohoo! Okay, that's cool. Alright, so that chapter is done. I think I did so good for this chapter. I was like really into it, I think. I think I did good. So, tell me what you think in the comments. What do you think of the story so far? And also, there are so many of you now. I never would have thought that I would actually come this far with this channel. But we're coming close to 500 subscribers. Yay! Which then, I also have a celebration of sorts. So, me and a few friends of mine are going to make a Patreon. And it's going to be about the same thing of reading fan fiction. It's going to be a little bit a different fan fiction, not completely just My Hero. It's going to be other stuff too, but it's going to be spicy. and it's going to be stuff that they made. So it's not going to be just My Hero Academia, or it's going to be like their own characters and stuff and their own OCs. So yeah, so be prepared for that. So once we get to 500 subscribers, then soon enough I will be coming out with a Patreon. But it won't be until after we hit the 500 mark. So please help me with reaching that 500 mark so I can post this or publish this Patreon. And of course, if you want to see more of this, you know what to do.